Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. This morning in the Hobbit kitchen, I'm going to butcher this pork shoulder and get it marinating overnight for Portuguese pulled pork in the slow cooker tomorrow. So, first thing I need to do is cut this bad boy up into chunks. See if I can get the camera angle right so you can see that and the bowl. All right, I will do my best to not block the camera while I work. And I will try to keep an eye on the screen in case anyone has any questions. Move that a little closer. In case you're wondering what all the extra shiny is on the screen, I wrapped the counter and the bitch in the box and my mixer in a little bit of plastic just so that I wouldn't splash any meat juice on them. Anyway, there's a big fat cap on the top of a pork shoulder. So first thing I'm going to do is cut this off. Some of it I'm going to put aside to boil down with the bone for soup stock that I will freeze into cubes and put in the freezer for winter. You've never done this before? It's a lot easier than it looks. You just really need a good knife. You just want to go right up against the meat and just scrape as much of the thick fat cap off as you can. Almost got the fat cap completely off, and my cutting board is slipping a little. All right, got the fat cap off, so I'm just going to put that at the back here on the plastic out of the way for now. Now there is a bone in this, so I'm going to, here it is, on the other side. So I'm going to start over here, and I just want to cut big chunks, and then I'm going to throw them into the bowl. This is the absolute best for Portuguese pulled pork. So I'm just going to chunk it up. Toss it in. Once I'm completely done with this, I will make the overnight marinade. But this step does take the longest because I choose to butcher it myself. Now, you could buy yourself a pork tenderloin or a boneless roast and just make it that way, but for truly authentic Portuguese caçoela, you want the pork shoulder, or as it's also called, pork butt. They call it Boston butt for some reason, but yeah, it's a shoulder. It's not actually a butt. Hope everybody's doing good this morning, enjoying a nice, relaxing Saturday. I know I am. I'm waiting for the rain because it'll be great for the plants out in the Shire garden. One of my absolute favorite Portuguese dishes to make. Yum. This is going to marinate overnight in the fridge in a combination of, I'm debating on whether I want to use beer. I usually soak it in beer overnight, but the traditional way is to soak it in red wine. And I've got this new bottle of CBD wine I picked up from one of the local wineries. So I think I might open that up and use some of that. Now, I know this seems like a lot, but that's because I'm going to do a huge batch in the slow cooker tomorrow. and then I will freeze a good percentage of it. That way, when I'm really craving it, I can just thaw some out. Getting a little close to the bone now on this side. I'll try to avoid getting any bone shards. Now, this is a bit much fat, so I'm going to cut off some of the fat cap here before I continue going. Not sure if that's a question or not as far as Russian accent goes, but nope, not Russian at all, although my husband is a bit Ukrainian. I am actually almost 100% Portuguese, 97% to be specific. Hence all of the Portuguese cooking and preparing of this pork. Oh. If you're just joining me, this is a pork shoulder that I am butchering to make Portuguese pulled pork, and then I'll boil the bone down to make stock to freeze up for winter. And I'll use a little bit of the fat cap from the top for flavoring to sear off in the pan as well before I boil down the bone. Don't want to remove all the fat, but I am removing the larger, thicker pieces because you really don't want a mouthful of gristle in your pulled pork sandwich. Just not good. And apologies to anyone who watched last night's Return of Friday Night Treats as I melted bonbons that I hadn't froze long enough and then proceeded to seize up the chocolate. It was a disaster after I shut off the live feed. I had one hell of a mess to clean up. Get this to let go here. Okay. Trying to figure out exactly, there's the bone. All right. Definitely do not want to cut through that, but I am going to leave some of the closest meat to the bone attached to it for the broth. Let's see here. Another good chunk off the top here. And in case any of you are wondering out there, yes, if you own good knives, this is a much cheaper and better way to make any type of pulled pork, really, or broth for that matter. It's a lot cheaper to buy a pork shoulder than it is to buy some massively large cut of pork. Just have to be willing to do the work. All right, this is going to be about the last of what I'm going to cut off the bone, because I want some nice meat and fat left on it for searing, and I've got quite a good amount here. So, I'm going to get this last piece. As soon as I trim the fat from this last piece, I will start making the marinade so I can get the pork in the fridge overnight. Not impressed with that piece. That'll go in the soup pot. Okay. I'm going to leave the rest of this bone and fat to the side for a minute, and I'm going to get rid of this knife and the glove. All right. Now let me grab some clean gloves, and I'll show you how to do the marinade for it. So I'm going to use some CBD Cabernet to soak it in. You always want to use red wine or beer if you're doing traditional Portuguese caçoeira, but if you're just doing regular pulled pork, whatever seasonings work for you. Also going to need some salt, pepper. You want to salt everything liberally, and I'll mix it all up in a minute. Fresh cracked black pepper. And some red pepper flakes. I'm also going to add a bay leaf in, but I'm going to do that at the end. And I'm using a packet of sazon, which is just garlic and some coloring and coriander, cumin. Pretty good. Adds a nice flavor and color to everything. I actually think I need 2 packets. All right. Just pour that in. Now I'm going to add enough wine just to cover everything, and then I'll mix it all up. But before I do that, I'm going to take out my bay leaf because I don't want to stick my hand in the jar once it's covered in meat. This is also going to cook tomorrow with a bay leaf in the pot. Just adds a really, really nice flavor. If I can get one out. All right, so I got my little bay leaf. Put that off to the side for the moment. All right, this wine comes from the Brimfield Winery. It's a CBD wine, and I haven't tried it yet, but it's a good red, and that's what I want for this recipe. And, yeah, I may end up using the beer or the other red wine I have, because there is quite a thick, I don't know if you can see that or not. You probably can't. But there's like a thick layer of goo and some floaty shit on top of this. I mean, it smells good, but I'm a little concerned. Not really sure if it's supposed to, yeah, there's a whole bunch of sediment on the bottom of the bottle too. I'm going to be safe rather than sorry and not use this. I don't want to ruin all this pork I just worked hard to butcher. So instead, I am going to grab a bottle of Cabernet that I know is good. Fuck me. I don't know what the hell happened. All right. When in doubt, can't go wrong marinating it in some beer. It's the only time I actually ever use beer in my kitchen. Not a beer fan. I don't like to drink it. I really don't even like the smell. But it does add an incredible flavor to this dish. I'm just going to pour a whole giant can of beer in there. And then I'm going to give everything a good mix so that all the seasonings get nice and incorporated. Now I'm just going to put the bay leaf on top, and then I'm going to cover this in plastic and throw it in the fridge, and then I'll start the broth. I'm going to plop the bay leaf down right there and peel off the gloves. And evidently, I left the plastic wrap in the other room. I'll be right back. Although technically you're going with me because the mic is attached to me. All right, so part one of the pork butchering is done. I'll take this out tomorrow morning, throw it into the slow cooker, and then when I come home at the end of the day from the food festival, have a nice prepared meal. Oops. Almost knocked the can of iced tea right out of my fridge. Okay, now for the bone. Don't mind the paper towel. I was trying to keep my cutting board from slipping, but it didn't end up working that well. So the first thing I want to do with the bone and the leftover fat cap is get a big saucepan out of my cabinet. Which is the most unorganized disaster right now. Got a big pot. Now I'm going to need half an onion and some fresh garlic. Now, I already have half an onion in the fridge from a dish I made yesterday. So I'm going to dice that up. Grab a cutting board here. There, now we can see both cutting boards. In case any of you missed it, feel free to check out my posts after. We had our first bear walk through the front yard yesterday at the new house. I had already seen one of them the day prior, but this one just came out brazen, broad daylight, strolled right out front, and it looked like he was looking in the window, which was kind of frightening, but at least he was staying towards the road's edge and not coming any closer. Anyway, clean knife. Now, because I'm making soup stock with the pork, doesn't really matter how the onions are chopped. Normally, I would do it a bit neater, but it's Saturday. I'm enjoying a nice, relaxing day. All right, so I got half an onion. So I'm going to take the pork, and once a pan is heated up with some oil and butter, I'll start to sear that off. Not too many ingredients to make a really good pork broth either. All you need is the bone with a little bit of meat left on it, a little bit of the fat, a lot of water, and some seasonings. And you can season it pretty much however you like. And while I'm waiting, I'm just going to give this a nice liberal coat of salt and pepper. Very disappointed about this CBD wine and all of its crap floating in it. I definitely don't like that. Might be having a chat with the Brimfield Winery because this is very disappointing and I don't like opening a brand new bottle to find out it looks pretty useless. Yeah, exactly, honey. When in doubt, throw it out. Yes, I just opened up the CBD wine a short time ago before I put the diced up pork in the fridge from butchering this. And as soon as I opened it up, there was a thick coating of blech around the rim and all inside at the bottom of the bottle. So yeah, not using that. I ended up using the beer. I hope you're doing good, babe. I think you're the only one watching at the moment. I did have some people a little bit ago. But anyway, I butchered the pork shoulder, and now I'm just waiting for the pan to heat up so I can make a batch of stock. Yeah, baby. Got to get the delicious food going. And I've already been out to the garden today. I was going to water things, but, you know, it's going to rain, so don't want them to drown. Ugh. Shit. Yada, yada, yada. All right, I think, yep, pan is just about heated up. So I'm going to take the knife that I used to cut up the onion. I'm going to get a little piece of this fat here if I can run the knife through it without making too much of a mess. All right, well, I'll wait a minute on that. Take the bone, and we're going to go over to the stove with it. Want to get a nice sear on all sides. And then I will flip it over and add a bunch of seasonings and water. And while that's searing, I'm going to salt the other side because I haven't done that yet. All right. I love that sound, that nice sizzling, delicious noise. That means you're making something good. I can... Oh, there. Now I can be in it too. Aha. Yum. Already getting a nice golden crust on one side. Just what we want. Kind of ruffle it so I can sear the underside too. There we go. This is not the easiest task to do, but what it gives you for a broth can be frozen for 6 months, and you can use it in a number of winter soups. Totally worth all of the work. And if I could just get it flipped one more time, I'll be ready for the next step. All right, finally got it turned. Okay, so now that the bone and what's left of the pork shoulder has been seared pretty much on all sides, I'm going to start adding some onion, garlic, and some water. So I have half an onion that I've chopped. I'll put the vent on low just to suck up any smoke. Going to add a few cloves worth of garlic. We do love garlic in this house. And since I know it's fine because I just drank some the other day, I'm going to add a little splash of white wine to the base of the broth. Just about half a cup, enough to deglaze the pan. All right. Now that the pan is deglazed, I'm going to scrape the onions off the pork here, and I'm going to start adding water till everything is covered. Oh, and apparently I'm going to throw a little bit of water on my new stove. It's going to end up being about 8 cups of water. Once I get the last 2 cups of water in, I'm going to chop up a celery stalk and some of the green top to it and throw that in as well. So nice to finally have well water and know that I can use the water that comes out of my faucet safely and not worry. Bread you want? Hey, I'm not saying that. Glad you're driving towards home, babe. But I'm not repeating that joke at the bottom. You're going to get me sued. I almost said it. All it takes is one celebrity to go, oh, you're using my jokes. Then it's all over. All right, time to grab the celery. Don't you ruin my big fun. I really can't wait till the Shire garden is ready to harvest. Half of this bag of celery just looks like a fucking walking disaster. Ugh. All right, dehydrated celery it is. I'm not messing with that mess. So, let me dig through the spice cabinet of everything. Till I reach the celery. All right, I got celery flakes, and I got some thyme, and I'm throwing sesame seeds. Okay, so real celery looked like shit, so we'll just throw in some dehydrated and get the same flavor. and a little bit of dry thyme. And by a little, I mean about half a tablespoon worth. We're making a lot of broth. Give everything a light stir. I'm just going to wait for this to come up to a boil, and then I'm going to cover and let it simmer for at least an hour, maybe 2 hours on super, super low. That way we get all the flavor out of the pork bone and what I left of the meat and fat on there. And it will be an absolutely perfect broth. While that's going, I'm going to start to clean up the mess I made all over the counter, which, thanks to the plastic wrap, is a lot easier to clean up than it would have been. Still deciding what to do in the Hobbit kitchen tonight for dinner. I have a couple ideas, but nothing is really jumping out and screaming, oh yeah, let's make that. So, not really sure yet. But at least I'm getting my freezer stock situated for winter. So that's a good thing. Anyway, I guess at this point, I assume that's just you watching, hubby. I can start singing show tunes or telling dirty jokes. There once was a man from Nantucket. I'm just screwing around here in the Hobbit kitchen while I wait for this pan of stock to boil. Nothing else to do. Still can't believe I have to throw away a brand new bottle of wine. And I really want to yell at the winery about it. I know it's not worth my time, but I really do. I really want to yell at someone about this because I was looking forward to it. I was excited about CBD wine. But I guess the next time I see something like that, I probably will be less likely to buy it, knowing that I spent money on a bottle once and couldn't use it. Don't mind the noise, I'm just trying to rinse off my knife. Okay, what do we got? Let's see. All right, well, this is just about boiling, so that's all for now from the Hobbit kitchen. I'll be back later on with either a food video or a short once I decide what's for dinner tonight in the Hobbit kitchen. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.